Welcome to the video number 7 of the series How to Stay Mentally Healthy in a Crazy World. And today we are going to talk about making big decisions. And this is the first video about a specific subject. So we had 6 base videos with general content, and now it's the first time we are going to talk about a specific subject, and today it's making big decisions. So let's go to it. And we are going to talk about priorities, what are big decisions and what not. And we are talking about the 3 ways that you can make big decisions, that thinking is over, arranging a team meeting and getting things in perspective. We are going to see how to combine those 3 methods, and we end with a conclusion, like always. So the first thing is priorities. And what are big decisions? And it's important to know how it's related to mental health, because the most stressful events in our life are moving to another job or to another relationship or to another place to live. So those 3 situations are very stressful, and it's important that if we make decisions about that we do that in a thorough, in a good way. And the first thing is important to realize that your mind is not very good in making priorities. And that means that for the mind, it's very difficult to judge if something would be a big decision or not. So the mind is like a puppy, we always say, and if you throw a problem, a stick of a problem, then the mind will go for it. If it's a problem that's very minor, so it's about how to do the dishes or how to do the garden or how to make an Excel, it will spend just as much effort as in the decision, should I stay in the relationship or in this job, or should I move to another town? It's for the mind, it doesn't really matter. So for the mind, it's also very difficult to see that there's something bigger going on than the problem it gets into its face. So you see it a lot that people are in a situation where they solve the daily problems all the time and they don't solve the bigger problem. So they solve the quarrel about who's doing the dishes, they solve the problem about the targets for the next month in a business situation, but they don't solve the situation that the relationship is not good or the job is not good for you. And it takes a lot of time, and that's because the mind is busy solving daily problems instead of realizing that there's something else going on. To do that, you have to go to the witness position. And we talked about that in the video about the connection with the self. The witness position is when you can look at yourself, at the fact that the different parts of yourself, you can look and see what's happening. And if you do that, if you have the witness position and you see that you're solving the same problems all the time, that you have a repetition in it, and that you're still not satisfied with the situation, and that it's a repetition of the same frustrations, that you have the same frustration all the time in the relationship, and the same frustration in your job or in your house, then it's good to realize that maybe it's time to chunk up and realize that there's something bigger. Then you know there's a big decision I have to take. Of course, it also happens that somebody else makes a big decision for you. So you can get fired, your relationship can be broken up by the other one, and you can lose your house because you can't pay it anymore. But that's not really about making big decisions. That's the big decision is being made by somebody else. So this video is in the situation that you are able to make the big decision yourself. So what's the first thing we can do? First thing is thinking it over. So using the mind. If you have upchunked it to the right level and you know, whoa, there's something going on here, I have to make a big decision, then your mind is very good in scenario thinking. That's what the mind does. It orders things in time and space. So you can have different scenarios and look at all the pros and cons and what could happen if I do this, what could happen if I do that, and you need time and space to think it over. So the most important thing here is that you take your time and your space to think the big decision, the consequences of it, to think it over thoroughly. And to ask some feedback from other people, what do they think about it? So you get a clear perspective of all the possibilities. So you're not going to be surprised by consequences that you didn't see before. And your mind is normally very good at that. So use it. And if you use it in the right way, you know what the playing ground is. But then you get stuck because you see the playground, but then you don't know what decision is the best one because they're all pros and cons, and it's never easy. A big decision is never easy because leaving a relationship has big negative consequences, and also, of course, pros, but staying in it is the same, but then the other way around. So it's always difficult to make that decision. And your mind can see the whole perspective, but it's not very good in deciding what to do then because it's too complicated normally for the mind to do this. So then you have the second way of looking at it, and that's arranging a team meeting. And the team meeting is the meeting with all the parts in yourself. In the video about the connection with the self, we saw that you're not alone, you have different parts in you, and those different parts, they will have different views about a big decision. They will have different opinions. And some will say, you have to stay here or you have to go. It can be really completely different, and that's because those different parts have different values. So the parts inside of you will have different values, and that's why they see it in a different way. So there's one part in you and that thinks that security is the most important thing. The other one thinks freedom is the most important thing, or development, or intimacy, or and you can name a lot of values, and they are in the members of your team. And if you know that, then you know that a part that clings to security as the most important value uh, will not be the easiest one to leave a job because that's insecure. But the part that thinks freedom is the most important thing will leave the job very easily because then you're off. Maybe he doesn't want any job. You want to be independent. So if you realize that have different values inside of you, then you realize that you have to negotiate between those different parts because they can't convince each other. It's impossible to convince somebody who thinks that security is the most important thing that it's a good idea to leave your job and see what happens. And it's impossible to convince the part that has freedom as the most important thing that you have to stay in the same job the rest of your life. It's just not possible to convince somebody, so you have to negotiate. You have to act in a way and find solutions that are acceptable for everybody. So if you would say, yes, I'm going to leave my job, you have to compensate, in fact, the part that's going for security and think, how are we going to do it to leave the job in a way that's secure enough for that part? And that's the way you do it. It's like in a normal team, if you want to have a team decision, but it's inside of you. And of course, you need a witness position to do those negotiations. But the more you're able to do that in a clear way, you can write it down. You can have all kinds of things to make it clear, to make it to see the different parts and how they think about it. The more the better the solution will be. And you need to have them all in. So it's not that you can say, oh, I don't, that part it's not important. I don't want to listen to that part, because if you do that, it will sabotage the decision if you've made it. So you will get into trouble later. So it's better to take some time to do the negotiation in the right way, and to have everybody in, because then you know, if you take this decision, all parts of me agree with the deal. It's not that they think it's the best deal for them, but they accept the deal, and that's the most important thing. So if you have that, then you have your team all in, and then you can look at the third way, and that's having a different perspective, and then you use the connection with the universe. We talked about that in a previous video. And in normal life, if you want to have a better perspective, then you climb a mountain and you can see the whole area. And if you do that with using the connection with the universe, you not climb a mountain, but you go deeper inside yourself. And the meditation is the most simple example, the most simple way to do that. And if you meditate, then in fact you leave your mind on the surface and you dive deeper yourself, and with the deep dive you get a better perspective of your whole life. And that helps a lot to see also a big decision in its perspective. It won't give you any answers, because it's more, because there's no mind there are not many words there, but it will make clear to you that whatever decision you make, it's not the end of the world. You can see, especially young people, they really think that a choice for a spouse, for a relationship, or for a job, or for education, or for a place to live, it will determine their life. But if you're in this perspective of meditation, then you know that it's not true. It will not determine your life. It will have an influence, but it will not determine your life. So if you make the wrong decision, it's not the end of the world. And that's very important, because it gives you the courage to make a decision. Otherwise you get stuck. Even if you have your team all in, then it's often still difficult to make the real step. So if you use the connection with the universe, you have the courage to make the decision, because you know if it's the wrong one, we make another one. So how to combine them? In fact, it's pretty logical. The first thing, of course, you have to do is up-chunk it to the right level. Then you know you have to make a big decision. You can explore it with your mind. That's also the best way to do it, because then it's clear what the playing ground is. Then you have quite a long phase of exploring it with your team. And if you do that in the right way, you construct the optimal solution, the optimal decision for every member of the team and combined. Then you can make it less heavy by using the connection with the universe, and you see it in a perspective. So then makes it easier to make the decision. And then it's about everything, implementing it with your team. And of course you can iterate on those circles, but if you're implementing with your team, it's also important to keep everybody involved, because if you lose track of one or two parts of your team, they will undermine your decision again. So that's about how to combine them. What's the conclusion? There are big decisions in your life, and your mind is not very good in seeing them and you have to leave the circle of small daily decisions to upchunk it to the right level, to realize that there is something bigger going on, to realize that you have to make a big decision. And if you do that, then it's important that the main thing that you need to do is get your team together. So you use the connection with yourself, you get your team together, you negotiate between the members of your team, you compensate the members of the team that have to be compensated to accept the deal. And if you have done that, you can lighten it all up by using the connection with the universe, and then you are ready to go for it. And maybe the most important thing about making big decisions is that you make big decisions. And you do it, you go for it, because it will influence your life. And if you are able to make those big decisions, it will give you self-confidence, and it will be clear that you're in control of your own life, and that makes it very good for your mental health, because that's the thing we are aiming for in this series. So thank you very much for listening to this video and watching this video again, and see you next time.